So just get everybody in. Start in a minute. Where's the Attorney General with us? Here we go. Everyone ready? At a little before 11 this morning, my office released a document that I had requested CL&P prepare by 10 a.m. this morning. That document shows what many have believed for days, that CL&P won't reach its self-imposed goal of restoring power in 99% of customers and businesses in every town in the state by midnight tonight, although it does confirm that they intend to be at 99% on a statewide basis by midnight tonight. The document shows when every town will be at 99%, and most important, when every town will be at 100%. I was always a little skeptical that they would not meet their self-imposed goal, and to say that I'm frustrated and angry is, of course, an understatement. As you know, at least 10 people have died as a result of the storm. Many have been cold, and many more have been inconvenienced. This should not have happened, and my job is to find out why it did, and most important, my job is to make sure that this does not happen again. To that end, this morning I met with Attorney General George Jepsen, who joins me today. At my request, the Attorney General has agreed to participate in the review of the utility company's performance that I announced on Friday, and which will be led by the firm headed by former FEMA Director James Lee Witt. I asked the Attorney General to participate in that review because I want to make sure WIT has the access to everything it needs, whether that's people, documents, or something else. I also asked the Attorney General to participate because I want to ensure that the state preserves its legal options on behalf of itself and on behalf of Connecticut utility customers. I'm not prejudging anything, but it's clear that CL&P's response to the storm was inadequate. Let me be clear, I have said throughout the whole ordeal that my number one focus was on restoring power to everyone in every town. That continues to be my focus and will continue so until that is accomplished. But we will find out why this happened, and we will find out how to fix it. In addition to this review, I've been assured by congressional delegation, and Senator Lieberman was with me today, that the FERC investigation they requested last week will go forward as well. Connecticut citizens deserve answers. A few other updates that I'd like to bring you aboard on. We had 493 National Guardsmen working last night, mostly on the north central area of the state. Today we have 496 National Guardsmen across the state and about 60 DOT crews, including 14 crews specifically working with cities and towns to cut down debris and get rid of it. And lastly, we've received reports of people posing as FEMA representatives and going into shelters or other areas in which people without power are gathering. I want to be very clear. We don't. We believe that some people are pretending to be FEMA officials. If anyone purports to be a FEMA official, please ask for their credentials and identification. They all have that, and will respond accordingly if they're legitimate. With that, I'll take a few questions. Oh, George, you want to say a few words? I'm sorry.
Thank you. Governor Malloy and I spoke this morning, and we agreed it makes sense for attorneys in my office to work with WIT Associates to assess information as it is developed. The purpose of this joint review is to ensure that the interests of the state and its citizens are fully and adequately protected. It would be irresponsible of me right now to stand before you today and speculate as to what, if any, action my office will take as a result of the review. Rest assured, however, the review will be thorough, thoughtful, and searching, and I will vigorously pursue evidence and consider all legal alternatives. I have already asked the public utility regulators to expand its current investigation of CL&P's response to Hurricane Irene to include an investigation of the response to the October 29th storm. As a complement to this request, I will also work with the Governor's Office and WIT Associates. Right now, the priority is to restore power to everyone in Connecticut. Thank you.
Governor, most of the places that I visited, the debris has been cleared either by the town or by the National Guard. Is the National Guard doing any more? And there are no power crews, but the debris seems to be clear.
Yeah,
is the National Guard still helping anywhere?
Yes, yeah. We have people on mission in a number of towns, ongoing, helping wherever we can, and that's concentrated kind of in this northern middle portion of the state.
Farmington Valley and north central Connecticut.
Yeah, some of the smaller towns as well.
Governor, as I was traveling around this morning, I did come across some residents who do still feel unsafe because they're blocked in by these power lines. Is that still a local issue, kind of figuring out the priorities?
Yeah, but you know, a lot of that. I mean, if CL&P is to meet their deadline, their adjusted deadline, a lot of that should be clarified and taken care of between now and later this evening. So hopefully that won't be the case. We also, I can tell you, we'll have all of the polling places hooked up, although some communities will consolidate some voting positions. That will be done on a town-by-town basis. We believe that all elections will move forward as well. And that, I suppose, in some senses, is a confirmation that we believe those wire situations will be taken care of.
Attorney General Gibson, what possible recourse could you have legally if the CL&P was living by the standards set by the regulatory authority, the Public Utilities Control, now the public, whatever it's called now, with the number of repair crews that he has? If they had what the regulatory authority here in Connecticut says they were supposed to have, what legal standing could you possibly have?
That's what we're examining. You're absolutely right that as a regulated entity, there's far more limits on what my office could consider, but this is an extraordinary situation, and we're, in conjunction with Witt Associates, we're going to do an exhaustive review to see if there's a basis for damages for the state or for consumers.
Damages for individuals. I mean, when the state wins a lawsuit, it goes into the general fund, and that doesn't help John Q. Public.
I'm not going to speculate further than that. If for some reason there were a factual basis in a legal theory for a lawsuit that would include damages, negotiated settlements can be directed in any one of a number of places.
And anything like that could take years.
Could take years. Yeah.
Do you have your power back yet?
Okay.
I do not.
You do not.
What are the FEMA people doing? The people posing as FEMA officials?
You know, we haven't. There haven't been any reports of that I'm aware of their engaging in so far. I think what they're kind of pitching themselves and trying to hold themselves out to be something that they're not. So it's not as if terrible things have happened, but it is a reminder, and quite frankly, it's a reminder if you know that if somebody approaches you about repairing damage to your house, make sure they have the licenses that they purport to have, and make sure that you're checking them out with the Better Business Bureau. Don't hire people who are walking up to you, and don't accept that somebody who says they're from FEMA is from FEMA unless they have the credentials.
Governor, you have remained hopeful that this would be restored by Sunday. You've said it just about every day, wherever you've gone.
Sure.
Was there a point this week where you went on a tour, or you spoke to somebody, you heard something, where you really became skeptical that they would be able to meet this?
I've been skeptical for a while and have talked about that. On the other hand, you know, I don't want to, is there a particular point? I don't think there's a particular point. I think it mounted over time. Having said that, there are thousands of people out there working right now as we speak to restore energy to as many people as can be accomplished. And so I don't want to detract from the individual efforts of those crews, those folks that are working very hard to do that. With this, what I promised is we'd get revised information. We will have revised information again for the 6 o'clock briefing, so people will know where they are if there are any changes. And we've communicated this document to all of the towns.
Why didn't you move faster to bring the National Guard out?
No, we did have the National. The National Guard was assigned initial missions. Once those missions were accomplished, specifically setting up the system to distribute goods to communities, of which we've done 86 communities have received those. Once that mission was accomplished and fully established, then we moved them to other missions, including the one of helping communities clean up debris, primarily around the issue of wire. So we had extra crews in communities so that if the utility showed up, there would be no delay in cleaning the spaces. Quite frankly, that mission became important later in the game as more and more crews started to arrive in the state and could participate in wire removal. It was not a possibility before that.
You couldn't have called up additional National Guard earlier in the week?
I think what I'm trying to convey to you is once enough crews were available to disconnect the wires. We weren't, the primary mission was not cleanup, with the exception of cleaning up once the wires were down. And that's the mission that they were tasked with, and that's the mission that they performed. We have allowed that mission to grow somewhat since then, because I didn't want people sitting around or standing around waiting for wire crews to show up, so we expanded the mission beyond that. Their primary mission from the outset was to set up our distribution center, and as you know, the difference between Irene and this storm, and something we learned in Irene, was that we should not anticipate that communities can pick up those commodities, so they were specifically tasked with delivering the commodities to the communities.
But they also, weren't they participating in helping clear state roads earlier than Thursday? Weren't they working on that project too?
I think not. I think that I don't want to speak without. I'll have to get back to you. I think our DOT people did our roads.
All the state roads.
What we tasked them with, I want to be very clear, is helping communities be in a situation to move once line crews were there to assure safety. One more? Yep.
Do you have any words for the citizens of Connecticut who have now been in the cold and the dark for 7 days now and are really getting to the end of their ropes?
Sure, of course I do. First of all, we're doing everything in our power and holding the utilities' feet to the fire to the extent that we can, and that we have announced on Friday that we bring WIT in and do everything to make sure that this doesn't happen again, and to apply all of the lessons learned through Irene and through this storm to improve performance and to make sure that the utility companies are ready to hit the ground running as soon as the storm is over. There was obviously in this storm a delay, and there may be legitimate reasons for that, but they're nonetheless not acceptable.